Europe, 1453. The Byzantine Empire was over 1,000 years old, but it was nearing the end of its life. It consisted of nothing more than part of southern Greece and Constantinople. It was an island in the Ottoman Turkish Sea. And on April 6th of that year, the Turks initiated a massive siege of Constantinople. Despite facing tremendous odds, they were outnumbered by approximately 10 to 1. The defenders resisted heroically until May 29, when an all-out assault overwhelmed them. The Byzantine remnants in Greece were mopped up by the Turks a few years later. When that happened, the empire finally came to an end. But what became of the last emperor, Constantine Palaiologos XI, who was in the city during the final assault? To find out, let's examine some of the contemporary testimonies. The Turkish court chronicler Tursun Beg alleges that the emperor tried to escape the city. While searching for a ship, he ran into a group of Turkish soldiers who beheaded him. Tursun doesn't specify what happened to his body, whether the soldiers tried to cash in on having found the emperor or didn't recognize him. Cardinal Isidore tells us that the Turks conducted a search for the emperor's body. They found it and presented the head to the Turkish Sultan, Mehmed III. Likewise, Constantine Mihailovic, a Serbian vassal of the Sultan, claims that the emperor was killed fighting at a breach in the city walls. His killer then took his head to the Sultan. The problem is that no Turkish source corroborates Isidore and Mihailovic's accounts. And if Mehmed had bagged the head of the Byzantine emperor, it would have been very out of character for him to not boast of it. On the Byzantine side, the historian Michael Kritovolos tells us that Constantine fell in combat. There's no evidence that Kritovolos was present at the siege of Constantinople, but his account is very detailed. Which suggests that he spoke to one or more eyewitnesses. On a slightly ambiguous note, 2 Greek noblewomen reported that the emperor was killed in the crowd. It's not entirely clear what they meant, perhaps killed in a stampede, or at the same time as many of his soldiers. A Florentine merchant who had taken part in the defense of the city and had managed to escape stated that the emperor had been killed, either in battle or by beheading. An Armenian poet named Abraham of Ankara has it that Constantine managed to escape and was still alive in 1454. Historians don't take this story very seriously, and with good reason. By most accounts, Constantine was a brave man. For example, he already passed up the chance to flee Constantinople prior to its fall. It's unlikely he would have deserted his people when circumstances became desperate. Furthermore, he was not seen again after the siege. One possibility, which no primary source considers, is that Constantine died in combat, and that some Byzantines found the body and buried it in secret. This theory has merit, inasmuch as the Turks would never have allowed an official burial, and the buriers may have been afraid of attempting to smuggle the body to a foreign land. Unfortunately, its second part is unsupported by any evidence. Ultimately, most accounts seem to agree that Constantine was killed on May 29, though they differ on the details. On the other hand, we're uncertain what happened to his body. If there was a burial and a tomb, it isn't mentioned in any contemporary or secondary source. His final resting place was probably a mass grave, like the rest of his soldiers. And maybe that's for the best. If a body were to be found, it would probably be one of the greatest shrines in the Orthodox Christian world, bearing in mind that the Byzantines were predominantly Orthodox Christian. But one suspects that the shrine would make those Greeks who resent the Turks, of which there are many, even more resentful. In a situation like this, I would argue that it's preferable to let the past remain the past, and let the emperor rest in peace.